The Shantae series of action platformers have been around since 2002. The first game was well received by critics, but didn't do well in terms of sales, primarily because it launched on the Game Boy Color around a year after the Game Boy Advance had released. Due in large part to the recognition it received, the series continued to float onward, receiving several much more successful sequels. The most recent Shantae game, Half-Genie Hero, was a crowdfunding success with nearly double its original asking price of $400,000. The developers, WayForward, are generally known for two specific kinds of games. Licensed games based off of intellectual properties such as Double Dragon Neon and DuckTales Remastered, and their more risque titles like the Shantae series and their Mighty Switchfoot series. Needless to say, you can take one look at the official artwork of these particular series and you'll get an idea of just what kind of audience they're attempting to appeal to.
I wanna die, I want you better get the best for me.
Luckily, their original games may have a seductive, almost kind of soft-core, almost kind of hide it from your family when they enter the room feel to them, but functionally, they're often fun and engaging, which might explain WayForward's continued success as game developers. Today, we're going to have a look at the aforementioned title, Half-Genie Hero. Like its predecessors, the game has you take the role of Shantae, the half-genie guardian of Scuttletown, as she works to protect it and its people, which inevitably forces her to branch out to the rest of Sequin Land to stamp out danger. Your primary means of attack is with Shantae's long purple hair, but Shantae also has access to magic, both offensive and defensive, which help to diversify her arsenal. One of the aspects Half-Genie Hero shares with its ancestors is the art of transformation via belly dances, allowing Shantae to transform into various kinds of animals and creatures. Like a crab that allows Shantae access to underwater areas, a monkey that jumps high and clings to walls, and a bat that allows you to fly across gaps and makes traversing tougher areas a bit easier. Much of that needs to be discovered out in the world, but many spells and dances need to be purchased, so a lot of your time will be collecting the game's many colored gems in order to buy these and other upgrades. While Half-Genie Hero's primary focus is its action platforming, there's Metroidvania elements to it that force you to revisit previous areas of the game in order to find new transformations, abilities, and other goodies that enhance gameplay or help you along in the story. The game's graphics are, I believe, completely hand-drawn, and they look absolutely gorgeous. At first I wasn't sold on the aesthetics, but Half-Genie Hero's artwork quickly grew on me the more I played it. I think I still prefer the previous game, Pirate's Curse, in terms of artwork. For, reasons. Also, I don't know who did the music for Half-Genie Hero, but wow, 9 times out of 10 it fits like a glove. When things are fast and tense, the music conveys that. While in town, the vibe is lax, with upbeat music that feels like it belongs to a bustling town. Or the smooth, jazz-like track that beckons you to relax in the bathhouse. It's one of the best, most thoughtfully planned and executed soundtracks I've heard in a game in a long time, and it really blew me away. If there's any aspect of Half-Genie Hero that really stands out above everything else, it's definitely the soundtrack. Of course, that's not to say that Half-Genie Hero is without its flaws. For example, the Metroidvania aspects are very loose, requiring you to revisit old levels on several occasions in order to find everything. Better Metroidvania titles make this flow better, either by naturally funneling you back to previous areas later in the game, or by encouraging you to return once you have all the tools at your disposal to acquire all, or most, of the relevant items in one go. I also got the sneaking suspicion that this was done to artificially pad out what would have been an extremely short game without it. It's also a very easy game. The game gives you access to a healing dance very early on, and easy ways to refill your magic gauge in order to access these healing spells while traversing levels, rewarding reckless behavior. If you need gems and don't mind minor inconveniences on revisits, you can trade your warp dance, which normally lets you skip chunks of levels that you've already visited, for a gem dance, which gives you lots of gems in exchange for magic. Since the hot springs back in Scuttletown refreshes your magic while you're in it, you can abuse it to safely harvest gems, get all the dances, magic, and upgrades you can carry within the first hour or so of the game. The transformations are all also varying levels of useless for much of the game, and you inevitably acquire a transformation that does what an earlier one does, but better. For example, the crab, which has limited mobility and utility in water, is quickly outmatched by the mermaid, who has full freedom of movement in the water. The bat, which can only fly horizontally, is quickly replaced by the harpy, which can fly wherever it wants. Almost every transformation is useless in terms of combat, which says they were probably trying to encourage players to use Shantae's normal form for combat. Any extra powers you gain for your transformations exist almost purely to allow you access to items to achieve 100% progress, having limited, if any, use outside of the 1 or 2 instances they're meant to be used. There's also no real reason to use magic in most cases, except for the orbiting projectiles, which help expedite the defeat of bosses and enemies. I'd imagine they're probably more useful in the harder difficulty modes, since a few of them are ranged attacks, something Shantae desperately lacks on her own. I've only played the normal, easier single-player mode, so I can't really say. On the plus side, the game has numerous additional modes of play. Unfortunately, almost all of those are hidden behind DLC. DLC that isn't exactly cheap either. All 3 DLCs are $26, which officially costs more than the main game. Personally, I think that's way too high for DLC like this, which should be sitting around a comfortable $5 or less per item, but at least that's what Steam sales are for. Speaking of money, Half-Genie Hero is currently $20, but during sales gets down to around $15, sometimes a little less. Is it worth it for the base price? If it had all the DLC built into it, like, say, a director's cut or whatever, it would be a great value for that price. Otherwise, I'd say even the most diehard Shantae fans might want to stick it out and wait for sales. Though with the summer sale past us, you might be waiting a while. Thanks for hanging out today. If you want more ChunkyBeef, hit that subscribe button or follow us on social media, links in the description below. See you soon.